he was convicted in August 2016. That's just 2 years ago, given a 5.5-year sentence.
Yeah.
How come he's due out?
Because you do half. But it's a 10-year maximum sentence. It's insane. So what do? Here's a man who poisons young men's minds, who radicalises people, who supports the terrorists, who's an enemy of this country. We release him, we put him in a safe house and put him on benefits. Can't he work?
Ella, you don't think he should even have been imprisoned? He's clearly dangerous. His ideas are dangerous. We've seen the results of that. So how can you argue that he shouldn't have been punished?
Well, everything that Jerry said is true. This guy has not got pleasant views. He pledges allegiance to the Islamic State. I can't imagine an opinion worse than that. However, he was put in jail explicitly for language, for not actions, and it amounts to what a spiked we call thought crime. I mean...
It's not thought, it's hate crime. He wants to put the Islamic flag, the Islamic State flag, over Downing Street.
Yes, he is.
Right? He supports a terrorist organisation that's committing atrocity after atrocity. That's not free speech. That's hate speech. That's inciting hatred, violence and murder.
Actually, it's not inciting. He inspires, he influences.
What's the difference?
These are the words. There's quite a big difference.
Well, explain it to me.
Because it's about freedom of speech. So everything that you're all saying is completely true. I mean, there's not words to describe how horrible this guy is and how horrible his view is. But the point is, you never fight the principle of freedom of speech on the easy cases. It's always the incredibly difficult, the incredibly painful and upsetting cases. The way that he has influenced and radicalised people in this country is shocking. But the point is that
100 jihadis he's believed to have directly influenced.
There is, and the influence
jihadis.
To 15 terror plots.
Yeah.
At what point
I'm
does
not defending this guy's views. What
I love
am
freedom of
defending-
speech,
Hang on.
but not when it leads to inciting people to murder.
So
That's not freedom of speech.
My whole point is that but is a very important but. In the case of Anjem Choudary, it was explicit. All reports say that he was put in jail because of language, not actions. There was no
Jerry.
proof.
No,
there was no proof that he was linked to.
He
didn't find his hands on any bombs. It was about his beliefs.
No, Ella, that's
you
not
put him
the
in jail
offence.
because of his
That's
beliefs.
not the offence. It's Section 12 of the Terrorism Act, and that is promoting terrorism. In other words, organising meetings. And he radicalised the guy who killed Lee Rigby, perhaps 100 people. He wants... Do you know... I don't care if he says the flag of ISIS should fly over Downing Street. I do care when he glorifies the martyrdom, as he says, of the people responsible for ripping bombs.
Why
to
is
London.
this guy even in our country? What's he doing here?
Look-
Why are we not able to throw these people out? He hates Britain. He hates Western life. He wants to encourage terrorism. He wants to promote ISIS. What is he doing here?
And he's on
Even
benefits.
on-
He's on benefits.
Hang on, so even on a... Let's, if we can, park the principal case that I'm making. Even on a practical side, earlier this year in April, the government released a press release saying that it was very worried about the radicalisation within prisons. Yeah. There's been a 75% rise in radicalised prisoners.
Right.
There's an issue with young men, predominantly, being in prison, being radicalised by people like Anjem
So you're worried
Choudary.
about people like him going into prison and having an effect?
You segregate him, and that's what
I don't think.
So you
it's
wouldn't
particularly the
jail
best-
anybody with ISIS in that sense?
I wouldn't jail anyone for their beliefs of supporting ISIS.
Really?
Because
How
the
do
whole
we punish
point
them,
is,
then?
The whole point is, I think, we're looking about this the wrong way. So the way to deal with certainly young men who are in danger of becoming radicalised is not to lock them up, but is to make sure that they have different points of view, that you get... It's actually a political...
So He's way beyond that,
So Ella,
though, isn't
just
he?
to clarify, you'd wait until they blow somebody up or cut someone's head off?
No, and I think it's really unfair to say that I would
Why?
in any way
Why? You don't want to
endorse
put
that kind of
any
behaviour.
radicalised jihadis in prison?
For their beliefs. For if you support...
But if their beliefs lead to murder, if their belief is, I want to kill people, you have to protect the public.
Look, I'm making a really, really principled, very clear freedom of speech argument here.
And I'm
which
making
is
a very
that-
clear response. I
which
think
is
it's
that-
nonsense.
No, which is that if you should never be jailed for your beliefs. If you then act on those beliefs that are proven to be in conspiracy...
But what about if
or
someone else
plotting?
acts on them?
If we're saying that you can be jailed for influencing someone, for inspiring someone, that's a very, very...
That's
what he was jailed for.
And failing to stop.
Take it to a different example, right? Let's say it was a radical left-wing speaker. Let's say it was a radical right-wing speaker. It just because it was someone like Anjem Choudary, who absolutely rightly gets people's backs up, and that's putting it lightly. I mean, this is a guy that should be nationally, internationally hated. whether or not he should be put in jail, that is a free
Jerry
speech
Hayes,
issue.
what evidence do you think there is that 2 years in prison might have changed him?
Yeah, it's not
because
changed
if
him.
he's, because
It's not
if he
changed
is in any way rehabilitated, then after
Then
2
hooray.
years, then great.
But he's made it absolutely clear, and it's been all over the papers, I will continue. Now, this is a job for Javid, the Home Secretary. He wants to be leader of the party. He wants to protect the country. Let him change the law.
The prison minister's Rory Stewart
Yeah.
recently warned that Choudary remains a deeply pernicious, destabilising influence and said that police and MI5 would have to watch him like a hawk. What is happening to this country
It's insane.
when people like this are just freed after 2 years to roam the streets,
Hang on,
spreading their hate,
he's not allowed to
whipping up
roam.
terrorism?
He's banned from Hyde Park. He's forbidden to
come on.
use the
God,
internet. He's barred from meeting associates
And he
of
gets
Al
benefits.
Haroon.
He's given a
Ridiculous.
house.
Look, can I
this
just,
is mad.
I mean, if
It is mad.
you ban, if in relation to what effect this has on radicalisation rates, if what you're doing is locking up a guy for what he believes and what he
You're
says,
not.
that is the case. That is what's happened. He's been put in jail for language, not actions, right? Then what that's saying to all of his people on the edge, people who would be supporters on the outside. You know, he is then saying, look at me, I'm an enemy of the state, they're locking me up. It glamorises him.
He was
and then
jailed.
draws
He
it
was,
under.
at the time of his
Censorship only
at
makes
the time of his
ideas more
jailing,
dangerous.
Choudary was linked to 15 terror plots dating back 20 years and had connections to hundreds of British jihadists who fled to Syria to fight in the name of ISIS. I mean, at what point does your love of all things freedom of speech, which I share in many regards, right? I'm a journalist who believes passionately in freedom of speech. But at what point do you say, no, sorry, you do not do this on our soil. You do not whip up terrorism and promote terrorism and help terrorists. We are going to deport you and throw you out of this country.
I think that the problem is if we throw freedom of speech under the bus for someone like Anjem Choudary, what we're doing is giving him what he wants. He doesn't believe in a free society. He believes in a society where people will be killed for saying the wrong thing. I mean, he is an extreme enemy of freedom. We do his views a justice by attacking freedom. We are meant to be a free society in this
Just
country.
say Herr Hitler and Herr Himmler were still alive. And just say they went onto a campus and they started preaching, we must exterminate the Jews. Do you think they should go to jail? Of course.
Well,
That's
hang on.
not
Well,
free.
let her answer.
OK.
No, I don't think anyone should go to jail for what they say.
So even if a Nazi had gone to a university campus and said we should exterminate all the Jews in Britain, you would still not want that person jailed or deported?
No, I don't think they should be
Even
jailed
if it
or
led
deported.
to an attack?
That's the difference. So if you can prove that someone is conspiring or a part of a plot to enact danger and action, that's different.
What if they're inciting
as
other
I
people to do
understand
it?
I'm not a lawyer, but as I understand the case, he was locked up on the basis of language, not actions.
No,
I mean,
no.
that is
Jerry,
what's being
clarify
reported
that.
It was
in every newspaper.
incitement. The offence is organising meetings to promote these banned organisations, to promote the sort of things we despise. OK, we're a tolerant society. Sometimes we're too tolerant. We all believe in the freedom of speech.
Never be
But
too
this man
tolerant.
has
to
crossed
what
the line.
extent do we tolerate the intolerance?
So it's about, if you are a free society, you want to be a free society, I think we're in danger of not being a free society these days, then you have to hold fast on something like freedom of speech. And that means something like an incredibly difficult case like
Allowing
we're talking
hate
about
Do you
today.
drive, Ella?
Yeah.
Do you wear a seatbelt?
Yeah.
Do you have insurance?
Yeah.
You have,
Yeah.
So you allow the state to put limitations on your freedom as you drive a car?
Yes.
You actually allow a number of infringements on your so-called freedom every minute
Yeah,
of
and
your
I
life.
believe in speed limits and traffic
Right,
lights.
so you allow yourself to have all those infringements on freedom for safety reasons, but you don't want to stop the public. You want to stop the public being protected from a man like this, who actually used to run Al-Mujahirun, the proscribed terrorist group. He was in charge of it.
Yeah, I mean,
know he's a terrorist.
We're not talking about driving. We're talking about the realm of ideas, hateful
We're
ideas.
talking about saving
murderous
lives,
ideas.
and it's the same
But where
thing.
do you draw the line?
Proof. There is also no proof. There is no proof that locking him up would save lives. What there is proof.
Why do you lock anybody up?
Is that locking
Why do
him
you lock
up would
anybody
be an
up?
infringement?
Ella, why
of
do you
freedom
lock
of speech.
anybody up?
To protect them from society, to protect society.
And you
from
don't
them,
think
or to
locking him
punish
up would protect people from society?
The whole point is you've
protect
got
society from him.
a weighing up here. So you've got, on the one hand, you've got this guy who's dangerous, fine. On the other hand, you have the principle of freedom of speech.
Where
in
do
a
you
free
draw the
society.
line?
All right, I have to draw the line.
Don't draw lines on freedom of speech.
I have to
It's
draw-
no ifs and
We have to
no
draw
buts.
the line
okay.
on